Here's a report. This is from a website called the Maine Wire, mainewire.com. Maine as in the state of Maine. A public school worker at Great Salt Bay Community School who coached a 13-year-old girl into a gender transition without telling her parents has only a conditional license to practice social work in Maine, the Maine Wire has learned. Amber Levine, the mother of the young girl, revealed at a school board meeting on Wednesday that she discovered a chest binder in her daughter's bedroom several weeks ago. Her daughter told her that the binder was provided by a social worker at the public school who encouraged her to keep it secret from her parents. That's when Levine learned that the social worker and other school staff had started a social gender transition for the girl in October without her parents' knowledge or consent. Sources have confirmed that the social worker in question is Sam Roy, a 26-year-old University of Maine graduate student who has a conditional license from the state of Maine to work as a social worker. Roy started working with the Damariscotta School this fall. Roy is scheduled to graduate next year from the University of Maine with his master's degree in social work. So he doesn't even have the degree yet, but he has taken charge of this girl's quote-unquote social transition. Levine learned that the school had begun transitioning her daughter when she discovered a chest binder in the girl's bedroom. Chest binder is a device that flattens the appearance of a woman's breast. They're sometimes used by individuals suffering from gender dysphoria or gender confusion. Unless worn properly, binders can cause or exacerbate health problems. Binders are typically used during social gender transitions and are considered a stepping stone to an eventual double mastectomy, of course, surgery that removes healthy breast tissue. Although Levine knew that her daughter was seeing a social worker through the school, she did not know that her daughter was reassigned to Roy in October. She has never seen or talked to Roy. Okay. So this is not as unusual as we want to think it is. This is certainly not unprecedented, where a school is, it's not even just that the school knows that a child identifies as the other gender and is not telling the parent about it. That's bad enough. That's already horrific. For the school, I mean, a school should not know anything about your child that you do not know. There should be no information at all, none, that the school knows about your kid that you don't know. Because when we talk about the school is not some sort of amorphous entity. We're talking about people. And so is there any individual person who works at the school who has a right to know information about your child that you don't? Obviously not. And that is especially the case when it comes to something like this. So that's bad enough if they're just concealing if they're concealing this kind of information. But in this case, they are actually facilitating this quote-unquote transition themselves. Took it upon themselves to do that. Of course, while not only not telling the parents, but actively concealing it from them. By the way, this article says that, and I want to make sure to note this, the article says that chest binders, unless worn properly, are damaging. Well, there is no proper way to wear them. They are damaging, period. The whole point is to flatten, the chest. There's no healthy or proper way to do that. There are ways that are, when we talk about proper or healthy way of wearing a chest binder, what they really mean to say are, here's the way to do it that will supposedly mitigate some of the harm that this is going to cause the child. But there still will be harm no matter how you slice it. And this is one step towards the surgery. So when the left says that they're not performing these surgeries on kids, that's a lie. First of all, they are performing surgeries on kids. They're performing double mastectomies on girls as young as 15, 14 years old, maybe even younger. But also, the so-called social transition, that is about putting the child on the conveyor belt, which leads directly to the surgery. And most of the kids will stay on that conveyor belt all the way down, till they get to the part where with the saws and the blades. That's what it's about. And the schools, they don't see any problem with this. Because as far as they're concerned, These kids are theirs. The kids belong to them. And you should know that. So I'm always preaching about homeschool. But if you can't do homeschool and you feel like you have to send your kid to public school, it really should be the last resort. But if you're going to do it, then you should just understand that you cannot implicitly trust anyone there. You especially can't trust counselors, therapists, social workers. I mean, we're at a point now, sad to say, where you can't trust people in that field at all. I mean, that entire field is ideologically captured. It is hostile to you. And it just is. You cannot trust it. I would not send my kid to any of these people, period. Especially not unattended. So if your kid does, if you really feel like your kid needs to see some sort of counselor, then you need to be in the room. But the schools, this is what they believe, that they own your kids, the kids belong to them. You are, talk about things being inverted. You are basically the hired help, and they have ownership of your child. That's how they see it. And that'll do it for this portion of the show. As we move over to the members block, hope to see you there. If not, talk to you tomorrow. Godspeed.